I'm Bobby.
I'm Jeff.
And in case you're new here, you're watching Before the Show, the Vixen podcast. We created this channel to give our audience a glance behind the scenes with the artists and entertainers that are about to take the stage here at the Vixen Theater. We just want to share the stories behind the music, the inspiration, and the motivation that keeps them all going. But before we get this started, I thought maybe we'd take a minute to talk about ourselves, the role that we play here at the Vixen Theater.
Sure, I love talking about myself.
Then you start, Jeff. What do you do here?
I'm Jeff, and I'm the talent buyer for the Vixen, along with probably a half a dozen other venues throughout the Midwest. And that's what I am. That's what I do. I buy talent for the Vixen. So all the people you see that grace our stage, I'm the one that searches them out, finds them, makes the deals, and says goodbye to them.
And says goodbye to them. And Jeff and I have been working together on projects for actually, I thought about today, it's almost a decade, which is also pretty cool. However, my experience in the music industry is fairly new, but yours is not. So tell us just a little bit about your experience in the music industry.
So
go back. You can go back. Go way back.
Way back. So I, like most people in my position, was in a band. I don't even want to say how long ago it was.
You don't have to. It's okay. We've done too much talking about that today.
It was a long time ago. Had a little bit of success with that. And
the name of the band?
The name of the band was called Prisoner, heavy metal band. Had a little bit of success with that. And then, had a self-imposed deadline that if I was not a big rock star by a certain age, I was going to call it a day, which I did after I reset that deadline a couple times. And went off and just kind of got out of the music business altogether. And a couple years after being out of it, I volunteered for some local festivals, started building up some networking with people, got into the festival business, was a festival buyer for a part-time kind of gig. And that eventually evolved into other opportunities. And lo and behold, I landed here.
And then the festival circuit is where we started working together, which is pretty cool. But I love working with you because so all aspects of the music business, not just the hiring, but what the bands are going through too. So I've learned a lot. So I just thought it'd be cool to mention it today.
It's been a great partnership.
Yeah, and as for me, I do the marketing here at the Vixen. I'm the marketing director, and I also have a business that does some marketing for some other things as well. So with that, we've had a lot going on lately, Jeff, and we've had you've done such a good job. We've had some awesome performances lately, including Everclear. I'm kind of a fan. I even got a hoodie over here somewhere, doing their Sparkle and Fade 30th anniversary tour, which was an awesome show. We just had a Tom Petty tribute that you brought in that I hadn't seen before that was fantastic. But what else do we have that's coming up we can talk about before we get this started?
Coming up, we have this Thursday on, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my dates here. The 20th, we have Saving Abel. So that's a great show. We're looking forward to that one. This Friday, the 21st, we have Howie Day. For those of you who don't know who Howie Day is, you do. Just Google Howie Day and you'll hear that song go, oh, that's that guy. I know who Howie Day is.
I didn't know either. And then I was like, oh, of course I know. Of course.
Then we have one of my favorites, Rockford legend, Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick. I've done so many shows with Cheap Trick throughout the years, and they're one of my favorite bands. And this is Rick's side project with his sons. Always a good time. We've had it last year. It sold out. I think it'll probably sell it again this year. It's selling really well. So get those tickets if you haven't already. December 11th. And it makes a great early Christmas present. And it's an amazing show. And then probably my favorite show of all of December. I'm looking forward to this one so much. We're having Van Halen Tribute Band Jump. They just buttoned up their Australian tour, and we have them here on December 13th. It's a Saturday. It's going to be an amazing show. And
I'm pretty excited about that one because I missed them last time they came, and I have heard such great things, which kind of reminds me, we've got a guest to bring onto this podcast.
We do have a guest. What a coincidence.
It's crazy. So one of the things I have always loved about live music is the experience and the energy, right? Like you just can't replicate that on a album. So this guest that we are bringing on, he just creates that in spades. It's just amazing. So with that, Jeff, why don't you introduce our guest?
The best tribute frontman in existence, Michael from Jump. Hey, Michael, how you doing, buddy?
I am fantastic, Mr. Jeff. How are you doing?
I'm great. Are you well rested from your what were you? You were in Australia, I know, and were you in Asia as well, or where were you? You were somewhere else.
Yeah, I'll say 4 countries in 4 weeks. We did Hawaii the first week, and then we did 2 weeks in Australia, and then a week in Thailand, and then I got home from that and I went on a little vacation to Mexico. So that wasn't playing a show or anything, but 4 countries in 4 weeks for me. So,
So
Nice.
how does
and
the audience? I know you've been in Australia before. I know that went well the first time. I'm sure it went well the second time. How does the audience in Thailand react to you?
well, and I guess to answer your question, no, I'm not well rested. Someone asked me last week, they say, man, you play a lot of shows. Are you tired? I said, I've been tired since last September, you know, but no. The audience in Thailand, half of them are what they'd call expats, like Americans that have, expatriates, whatever, that have moved there, retired there, whatever. Um, and then the other half are like the Thais, and there's obviously a pretty significant language barrier. But I will say Pattaya as a whole is just more of a laid back beach town. It was also open air, so it was very, very hot, like incredibly hot. And Bangkok, both of them were small clubs, and Bangkok was definitely more rock and roll. They were more hyped up, and it was also like inside, but it was actually probably the smallest stage this band has ever played on, shy of a venue called Pennington's in Jewett, Ohio. It was incredibly small, but the people were there for it. And both nights, I will say, I said, I have a question. Has anyone seen us by chance? And one guy in the back, Patea, raises his hand. And I'm like, I had met him before the show, and he's like, brother, I've seen you like 2 or 3 times in Chicago area, and I just happened to be here. How crazy. I'm like, okay, that's
Wow.
awesome. And then in Bangkok, I had a guy all the way in the back of the room raise his hand, and I'm like, oh, okay, where'd you see us? And he goes, Middletown, Franklin, Ohio. And I'm like, dude, no way. JD Legends, which is a venue we've played probably
Yep.
5 or 6 times at least, and it's 2 hours from our house. 2 hours from where I live in Toledo. So I'm like, man, what a blast! And it was the last week of tours, so I was pretty. I've done some long tours, but I was definitely like homesick and just ready to kind of be done and get home and get back to some normalcy and everything. But that was like a cool little flavor home. He actually had an OSU hat on. I was like, dang, crazy.
Nice.
Yeah. This is a great time. Jeff was telling me a story
Yeah.
before the podcast.
I was listening. So
Perfect
I
timing.
was in New Orleans this weekend, seeing a friend of ours, a guy that used to work here. He was doing a show at the arena down there in New Orleans. So me and my
Awesome.
wife are on the Uber ride over there, and he's asking us what we're doing, and kind of gets in the thing. I own a venue, blah blah blah, and he's like, "Well, I'm sure you've never heard of this because it's just like a little local band." And I'm getting ready for him to say like, Rosie and the New Orleans Five or something like that. He goes, it's this band, you probably never heard of them, but if you ever get a chance, you should check out this band called Jump. And I'm like, well, I've had them guys in my venue in a couple of weeks. He's like, oh, dude, I saw them like when they were really small in this club with my son in New Orleans, and they've never come back. And I'm dying to see him. And I have a picture with Michael, and I would talk to Michael once in a while. And I'm like, well, I'm going to talk to him, and I'm going to find out when they're going back to New Orleans. The guy gave me his number. So I have his number. So I have
Wow.
got to tell him when you're getting back to New Orleans, because this guy is your number one fan down there. It was so funny, man. It's
That
hilarious.
is so cool. Yeah, we played Southport Hall in New Orleans. Definitely. I remember one of our guys goes, "Let's go into the city. It's a little bohemian, but it's really cool." And a little bohemian is definitely. It was just. It's a different world. You step into a different world. It was amazing. The culture, the music, the shops, the restaurants, the bars, everything. I mean, the people. It is so. It's such a different world down there. But it's really just a culture shock being that you're like still in the United States and New Orleans is what it is. But that is
A
so
little
cool.
bohemian.
And it's one of those things for me. I mean, like a Midwest, a kid from the cornfields of Michigan. It's pretty touching because I have had so many people, especially in the last 6 months, like 12 months perhaps, like recognize me in public, see me at like airport. Like I had some people at the Perth airport in Australia. They knew who I was and knew who we were as a whole. But I guess my face, a lot of the branding has been kind of stuck around goofy face. So, so it's one of those things where I'm like blown away, and it's always really humbling because I'm just Mike from Michigan, and anyone that watches this that's heard me say that like knows that's like my stick. I'm just Mike from Michigan, not Dave. I started this to have fun, and I can't believe like it's literally taken us around the world a couple times, and there's been so many just crazy opportunities that have come up, but it is so cool because that has happened to me so often. Even last week in Mexico, one of the lifeguards, he goes, you play?" I'm like, "Yeah, I play." He goes, "What do you do?" And I'm like, soy vocalista, I'm like a vocalist, and he goes, "Oh, okay, that's, cool. I play guitar." And I'm like, "I play drums too, but for other band." And he goes, "What do you sing?" And I said, "Well, here's my card." And I showed him, and he goes, "Oh, Van Halen band, Van Halen cover, Van Halen tribute." He goes, "I follow one on Instagram. They're really famous." And I'm like, which which one? And he pulls his phone up and he turns it around, and it's our Instagram page. And I go, "Who's that?" And I point at him, and he goes, "Ay, ay, ay, oh my gosh, it's you." And I was like, "There you go, that's it." So it's been really like it's crazy how many people have taken to this thing, and it's just really another really cool story to kind of add to the repertoire. So thank you for
Right.
sharing, Jeff, because that's wild to me.
Well, you touched on you being a drummer and being in another band. So why don't you tell us a little bit? I know the story, but I don't know if our audience knows the story. But why don't you tell us how Jump came together? I mean, I think it's a pretty amusing story.
To make a long story short, no, I'm just
Oh no, we don't
no,
have
no.
enough time on
Oh
that one now.
no. For context, before we recorded, they said, "Oh, you seem like you'll do well on camera," and I said, "It gets worse if I say to make a long story short. That means it's going to get longer." But no, to actually make a long story short, I toured in a rock band from Michigan for about 4 years. Like I was like 19 to 23 years old. Took a couple years off to start my media business. I was doing weddings and commercial photo and video and whatnot. And we played I had a couple of like cover shows around Toledo where basically what would happen is my friend that's a promoter, Cody Sizemore, he put on these shows where it was like Thanksgiving time, thankful for new metal. So we had like 4 local bands or like hybrid of local bands. Everyone knew each other, come together, and one band would do Slipknot, one band would do Linkin Park. I played that show, and then a Cinco de Cryo show, which was like an emo show. So like Simple Plan, Blink 182. I played in the My Chemical Romance band. And then the best one was KISSICP. I played Slipknot dressed as Peter Criss. And
Kiss again.
so
Oh my God,
random.
always comes up.
Yep. Yep. And then the last one that I did, which is what pushed me over the edge, was metalcore, like 2000s, 2010 metalcore, like Warped Tour metal type of music was really like my thing growing up. And I played in a band, a covering of Mice and Men. And their drummer, Valentino, is one of my very favorites. And I've had the pleasure of meeting him a few times and hanging out with him and some of the band in different parts of the country. And so it was a really cool experience for me. But I told him, I was like, "Dude, playing your music is like what part of what started Jump." So we played a cover show. I had brunch with my buddy Cody, the buyer, and my best friend, and or the talent buyer, the promoter. And I'm like, "Man, I got to get back into music. I don't really write, but I can play. I'd like to try singing, but I just don't really know where to go. I think I might just start a bar band, play some top 40s with some boys, drink some liquor, whatever, just have fun with the guys around the tri-state area, around town, playing some bars." And he's like, "You should really try a Van Halen tribute." And I'm like, "No, tributes are so lame. I'm not doing it." And that was the first thing that came out of my mouth. And he is like, "Just trust me. You'll get to play some really cool places. You'll probably do a little better financially. And you are a theater kid from high school. Like, you'll be really good at like acting out a part and singing it too." And he's like, "Also, I've heard you scream like Dave. Like, we used to sing Van Halen on the road in my last band." And he's like, "I know you can sound like him. You've already got like the blonde hair and you already act like a dick most of the time. Like, you'll be great at playing Dave." So I'm like, "Okay, all right, we'll give it a shot." And so we kind of worked through the year. That was April 14th of 2019. And we had our first show December 13th of 2019. And then the venue that we were playing with the Iron Maidens the next month closed down. So that show canceled, and then COVID hit. And we ended up playing about 7 shows between starting the band and the beginning of 2022, if you follow that. And in 2022, we got picked up by our first agent, and we played 35 shows that year, 72 shows in 2023, and 111 shows in 2024. And this year in 2025, we'll probably do 110, 115, something like that. So that's kind of how Jump came to be. And what really broke the back of the beast was actually right after I met you, Jeff, in November 2022. We opened for
Yeah.
Sabbath in November.
Right. Yep.
About 2-3 weeks later, we had a video from the Machine Shop in Michigan, my home state. We had a show at Machine Shop, and we put a video out, like a transition reel, and it went pretty viral, and that changed everything. And that got us a lot of, I mean, we grew, we grew probably 30,000 followers across, 30 to 40,000 followers across all platforms in like a week. And the phone just started ringing and emails started coming in, and it really like kind of helped shoot our career into motion. And then over the last 2 years, we've grown probably 250,000 followers across all platforms. And that's what got us over to, Asia and over to Australia. They found us like on TikTok, and we're getting, the promoters over there were getting requests to bring us over. So I've actually had discussions with bands and tributes and whatnot. And some guys, I don't know if it's the age gap between myself and some older gentlemen, or like just guys that don't want to be on social media in general. But I just try to explain to people, like, I've had bands, some really good bands too. Oh, my singer thinks all we need to do is social media. And I don't think, I think it's just a waste of time, whatever. And I remember I had that conversation last year, and I said, well, I don't have time to argue with you guys, but if you need some help, give me a call anytime. However, I'll leave you with this. I leave for my first Australian tour in 2 weeks, and they found us on TikTok. So it's pretty important. Anyhow, love you guys. See ya.
I found you on TikTok, actually. I even remember the video so well. It was something about, why would I want to see a Van Halen tribute? And you come out and say, your mama does, and did a big kick. And I was like, I love it, because it was so spot on.
That was
So, and
probably,
it's, impressionable if I still remember the video.
yeah, for sure. And it was probably, that's actually our highest viewed video on Instagram in particular, and probably one of the highest on TikTok. That was shot at the Rust Belt in East Moline. Because that was, and that's a true story. That's a true story. Like that happened. I was having beers with a guy in Toledo, and we were just catching a buzz, and I'm sitting there, probably just being a little bit of a smart aleck about it. And he just goes, man, but don't you think? And it's a little cheesy, blah blah blah. And I'm like, dude, it's totally cheesy, but man, your mom can, loves it. And he just goes, touche, all right, and we cheers. And there was no malice or like, no malicious intent. It was just a conversation, but it was a real conversation. And that joke,
so true.
Unfortunately, that joke has pulled through. I've actually had people, I remember specifically one time I was at a pilot station, and a guy at the counter asked me, he goes, are you the your mom guy from Instagram? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, sure. That's it. No, I didn't think that joke would really do what it did, but that joke has really been a pretty pinnacle part of like the whole marketing, if you will. So as lame as I think it is now, and I've told the joke at 350 shows, so I'm a little tired of it personally, but I know that a lot of people love it and they think it's hilarious, and they ask, oh, you didn't say it tonight. You didn't say it tonight. And I'm like, I know, because I'm tired of hearing it, but I don't know, I guess I should remember that there's still new people in the crowd and people that see us once or twice a year and they like to hear it still. So I don't know.
Yeah. And that joke is paid for your tour bus, I think. So
that joke is, yeah. And also, I'm just for the purists out there, we stand on the shoulders of giants. I love Van Halen deeply. I never woke up one day and thought, wow, maybe I can make $1 million off Eddie Van Halen, because a lot of people have a gripe with that. And I used to have a gripe with it too. That's why I didn't like tributes. And I remember standing and I was seeing one of the most premier, or if anyone watches this, you probably know who Get the Let Out is. I stood there and watched Get the Let Out, and I saw them like 5 years in a row. And every year I'd stand there in the crowd with my arms all crossed. And I'm just like, these idiots think that they're Led Zeppelin and they can make $1 million off of Robert and Jimmy and, the boys' work and blah, 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 whatever. And then Paul Sinclair, the singer, he goes, people ask why we have 6 people, not 4 like the original band. We want to give you like the most true to album audio experience. And we started playing this as a group of friends and playing around our hometown of Philly, and we really enjoy this music. This is what we grew up on, and we realize that we can give people a pretty authentic representation of the music. And there is something to be said. Yeah, you can turn on the records. Yeah, you can turn your radio up, whatever. But there is nothing like going to a concert and standing there as the front of house is just wailing you with it. And that is what makes live music so powerful, is the impact and the presence that it has. And and I was like, man, I relate to that. And that was the year, that was actually about just a couple months after the Jump idea started. And I was like, all right, I can get behind this. And truly, that's why I tell people, man, it started for fun. We didn't do it for the tour bus. We didn't do it for the big stages or whatever. But I always tell people, man, you do something with passion and you do something to in service of others and to give people a good time. It's hard to not be successful if you're doing it with the right heart. And that's really where the culture of the business behind Jump has really amplified things and drawn in. We get a lot of people from all venues and different bands. Man, you guys are just great people. I talk to your guys, I talk to your tech, I talk to your drummer, and everyone is just super sweethearts, and that makes a difference for people. The personal touch.
Sure.
So
What I find really cool about you guys too is you're all younger guys. Like, I grew up with Van Halen. I was born in the late '60s, right? So that was the cool band in high school, but you weren't even born yet. And I know your drummer wasn't. I mean, I remember your first show here. Your drummer had to take the day off of school to play here,
he
I
was,
believe, if I'm not mistaken.
and his parents
So
there too. Yeah, it was a whole
right,
conversation.
right.
I called his
So
dad before I interviewed.
how does a bunch of young guys latch on to a band that, like I said, that was popular? Their heyday was before you were born. I mean, how does that happen?
So right off rip, I can tell you, I remember the first time I heard Van Halen, and it would have been Christmas Eve of 2002, which was also before Eric was born. Okay, so Eric was Eric was born in 2004, December 8th, I want to say 2004, and I was born June 7th, 94. So him and I are a perfect decade apart almost, and my dad graduated in 74 and my mom graduated in 79. So they were like full scale adults when the 80s hit. And obviously Van Halen started in the started in the early 70s for the purists that want to slight me. I know my history, okay? Everyone calm down. But when they released their first record 78, right? I remember my dad was actually in college in 1980 when they released the Women and Children first album, the third album. And so my dad was always big into like Kiss and Led Zeppelin and Van Halen and some of the other like Robin Trower, Jimi Hendrix, like some of the like 60s kind of early 70s guitar players and so forth. And so I was just around it, man. I mean, my mom is like she loves she says, I don't know how to say this properly, but she likes like the Earth, Wind and Fire and Casey and the Sunshine, like the black music from the 80s. Like that's what she loves. That's her favorite thing ever. And so she loves dancing and singing and everything. My dad is more on the rock and roll spectrum, but they met in the middle with like the Party Zone 2-disc combo of all the all the like the disco and like pop hits from the 80s and stuff. And then the Casey Kasem's top hits of the 80s. My dad had that, and that had like Men Without Hats and Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Aha, ABC, like just so many different pop groups and whatnot, and then obviously A Flock of Seagulls. I had to throw that one in there too. But yeah, that was like those are two great records that I grew up on with a mixture of 80s bands. So I was always into it. And then when it kind of came down to, okay, we're going to start this thing, we're going to do it. Well, here kind of leaning back into the thing. And again, you know, with all the love in my heart, part of the thing was with the tribute was I was like, I just wasn't into the idea originally. And then once I got my head wrapped around it, okay, let's do it. And then Cody said, but here's the thing. He kind of took the words out of my mouth. He goes, you'll notice a lot of tribute bands are probably in their 40s, 50s, 60s. And hats off. Honestly, they're better players than we are. They're more experienced. They've been doing it forever. They've been playing this music since before we were born, right? But there are not a lot of young tribute bands. And I do believe that that's part of what has changed the tempo for us, especially doing the Roth era. Early Van Halen is a young man's game. And I mean, I can tell you there are a couple bands that don't have like a great flavor for us, but then there's other ones that have like, ultimate respect for us. But it's because we came in so hot and kind of, again, had the internet sensation behind us and everything. But that was kind of our goal from the start was like, let's make a band that's like a snapshot of them in their prime and get some young guys to play it. And it will take a little longer because we'll have to actually really like work on the music. Like the only one that came in knowing the full catalog because he's a classic rock drummer is Eric, which is so funny because he's 20 years old now. He turns 21 next month, actually. And
He'll be 21 when he
remember,
gets here.
but he knew from the start all of his all of his songs, our whole set list practically. And he knows more 80s. I can say his favorite band is REO Speedwagon, and he knows more 80s music than any of us. And so it just kind of worked out that way. Cody was big into Metallica, and he came in as a shred guitarist that just needed to learn the Eddie touch. Really, is what it was. But he came along fantastically. It obviously took him some time to really warm up on stage and like take on the personality and everything. And Eric was right in the pocket from the start. He was a young drummer, so like as a drummer myself that's been playing 20 years, like there were tempo issues and certain things that we needed to work through with a kid that had never played shows before. So I understood that, but as a drummer, I was like, I took him under my wing. I'm like, okay, we can work through this stuff. And then like our bassist now is his name is Drew. He grew up in the same thing. His parents are 80s freaks, and they love the music and everything. So it just kind of works out. And again, Van Halen, especially because of the acrobatics and the nonsense and the camaraderie and the energy, it definitely comes to life with the fountain of youth invigorating it.
I couldn't imagine someone in their 40s, 50s doing those jumps off the speakers like you do.
And doing the kick.
And the kicks and all that, yeah. The whole deal.
I noticed you and I were communicating a little bit when you were in Australia, and you sent me some pictures, and I kind of zoomed in on the picture and looked, and I was really kind of surprised how, like, I know when you play the Vixen in our places, it's a lot of people my age, guys, they're losing their hair and whatnot.
Yeah.
I noticed in Australia, half of that crowd was young. I mean, it gave me hope for like the future of rock. Like there's some young people that still like this stuff. So were you surprised by that?
Yeah, I mean, we get I will say, like our TikTok following and like some of our Instagram following and whatnot, like that helps the younger demographic. But what I will say is that down there, they have such a different, as a whole, Australia has a different appreciation. They don't get the same tours. I mean, I said it on stage respectfully. If you guys have 10 of something, we have 100 of it in the States. Like we're so overstimulated and so overwhelmed with advertisements and shows and this and products and social media and everything that it's hard to kind of sell people something these days. We're down there for some reason. I mean, it's like a family ordeal. Like when a band comes to town, like you just know. And there are a lot of young cats down there that love early rock and roll, you know, 60s, 70s, 80s rock and roll, and some of them like look like it. I mean, there's a kid. If you're watching Bailey from Melbourne, you know, if he watches this, there's a kid, Bailey in Melbourne, and the first time we walked out on stage, I thought he was a chick. And I like looked closer and I'm like, dude, this guy's got like full makeup on and everything. It's like, it was crazy, but he looks the part, he lives the part, he is the 80s like re-embodied. And so it's really cool to you know, it's really cool to see for us, especially because there's a different energy that comes from it too. So yeah, I was surprised by it, but it's just different down there, man. The whole culture behind music and the appreciation for it is just so different. So it's very, very cool to see.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You got
That's a lot. I don't know. I don't.
I feel like I'm taking over the whole
That's
interview
all
by
right.
talking.
That's all right. It's you go. You go.
I
Jeff.
just have me and Michael, we go way back to 2022, man.
This is going to be my first show.
Yeah, way
I
back
had
in
to admit,
2022.
last
Yeah.
time.
No, and I got time. I'm meeting the guys over to jam some new songs here in a little while once we're done. But I'm here for as long as you guys want.
Well, do you have any other questions, or should we jump into the lightning round?
Let's go into the lightning round.
All right, so we do this thing. We've got just a few questions that we're just going to kind of throw at you and see what comes up. So I can only imagine the answer to this one. What is the craziest gift you've gotten on stage from somebody? On stage or after the show?
Okay. There's a couple of different categories of this. One is last year we shot a video of me. I was eating Sour Patch Kids and drinking a non-alcoholic Busch Light. And we were doing one of our like promo Unchained reels. And so I was like staring at the camera and I was drinking them and I was like snacking on him while he's playing the Unchained riff. And then it transitions into the show. And from that point on, there were like a dozen shows where I would walk out on stage and it was like someone throwing a bra. I'd have a box of Sour Patch Kids like hit my chest or like land at my feet or like something random like that. And that was so funny to me. So that's like one department, the Sour Patch Kids. Another one is like, we had like a pair of like huge like panties thrown on stage that said and there was a tag on it that said "Moms love jump." And they threw that up on stage. I think that would have been Columbus, Ohio. And then I will say one of the coolest gifts like that I've been gifted is a gentleman came up to me and he gave me his son's Marine pin from like one of his graduation ceremonies or something, related to that. Or like, they just give out little badges and so forth. So I actually have it right over here by my vitamin stack. It just sits there. It's kind of a little reminder. And that was really cool because I have, friends and family in military. I have like the most reverence for them because I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up around firearms and this and that and everything that people don't like to talk about and, hunting, fishing, surviving. So for me, part of me felt drawn to go to the military, but then I started touring when I was 19, pretty much right out of high school after working a marketing job briefly. So that's one of my most heartfelt. Actually, I'll just show you real fast.
I knew it was coming.
This is one of my like most heartfelt because I was just like, man, that is so cool that this guy felt the appreciation for what, his son's, duty and sacrifice. And he gave me his Marine pin. So
yeah, that's awesome.
That was cool for me. So
awesome.
I knew that we weren't going to just get one gift from you. I knew you were going to have like 3 or 4 gifts. And
to make a long story short.
To make a long story short. But it's hard. Right. It's hard for me because like it's hard to pick like a favorite anything. But But here's my all right. Next fire round.
Next one. What is the best piece of advice you got from someone else from someone in the musical industry?
Ooh, man.
See, I like what you think.
Yeah.
That is.
I think I just shut him up. I think I just got him to silence.
Well, I can tell you one One is when we first got going, because now as of lately we've started to become more selective with things, and this is something that bands need to hear. It's so basic. The more you do, the more you'll do. It's so simple and it's so goofy, but I hear, especially in tribute music, because again, there are a lot of guys here that, oh, they want to make money, they want to make a bunch of money and this and that, whatever. They don't sell tickets, but they want to make all this money. And I'm like, the more you do, the more you'll do. And that goes in any area, whether it's content. The more content you do, the more gigs you'll get. The more practice and the more songs you have in your catalog, the more albums you release, whatever, like the more everything, the more music, everything, the more the more you'll retain from it. And obviously that has to come with strategy. I always have to, correct the purists out there. Yes, it comes with strategy. I don't mean just go firing stuff off. And then shows. Stop. Some bands in their young form are so concerned about, well, we're not making $1 million this show, or like, oh, we don't really like the venue, or like, oh, blah, blah, blah. We only like to play seated theaters or something. And it's like, dude, what? Like, again, I get this from bands all the time. Man, you guys are so busy. Like, we only play like 10 shows this year, whatever. And I'm just like, okay, like what's your typical like deal? What goes on? And they're like, well, we only want to play like PACs. And I'm like, of course, like that's what everyone wants to play, is performing arts centers, because they're awesome. They're amazing. Well, and we only want to make X amount of money per show. And I'm like, well, how many shows have you guys played as a band? Well, probably like 20. Okay. Well, you better get gigging, because no one knows who you are and no one cares.
Right.
No one cares, So that's really that in its simplest. I'll just give you that right now. And if I think of something else, but that was one of the most like profound things. Mike, the more you do, the more you'll do. And honestly, I'm kind of caught off guard because I feel like I've caught a few different pieces of advice that were really noteworthy, but that's just a good consumer friendly one for the viewers today. The more you do, the more you'll do.
I like it. I like the get gigging too.
Get gigging.
Yeah, get gigging. That'd make a
Get
great
gigging,
t-shirt.
man. Get out there. Just do it. And people don't want to. Oh, we don't want to drive this far. We don't. Well, that's fine. If you want to stay, if you want to play the same places in the in the tri-state area, then that's fine. But the amount of times I've had bands come up and they're like, man, I want to do this, or I want to go here, I want to do that, and I'm like, okay, well, like, why aren't you? Well, two of our guys only want to drive like a maximum of 3 hours. And I'm like, dude, well, Australia is 11,000 miles away, dude. So I don't think that's going to work out for you, dude. Like, sorry. And that's
Right.
not just, I mean, I'm kind of, highlighting Australia, but like, well, yeah, California, Hard Rock Live in Sacramento is still 2,700 miles away. So you're not going to get there in 3 hours, man,
Yeah.
So finding the right people, installing the right culture and the right behavioral expectations and everything when it comes to being in a band and traveling with a band and working together as a band and living together as a band. There's, all that stuff is important too.
Awesome. All right.
And
What's the one?
this is, by the way, last thing here. I'm sorry. This I never got this from anyone, and I could probably trademark this, but I won't, because it's not that important. If you can use it in your life, use it. It's too easy to be easy. That's it. Figure that one out. I tell that to everyone. I tell that to the guys. I tell that to people we work for. Everything. It's oh man, you guys are great. You're so nice. This, that, whatever. It's too easy to be easy, because it really is. It takes 47 muscles to frown, it takes 5 to smile. So
it's a coincidence I have that tattooed on my inner thigh. It's too easy to be
Crazy.
easy. So.
Oh yeah. I feel like you're messing with me now.
I'll show you in December.
Yeah, just pop back into the dressing room real quick there, Jeff.
Jeez. Now that we know what Jeff's most embarrassing moment was when he got that on stage.
Right.
What was your most embarrassing moment on stage or in a performance?
I would say there's 2 that stick out in my mind. One was at our biggest show that we've played. It was in Arnold's Park, Iowa. I was wearing my white Fair Warning pants, my favorite outfit. and we're on a concrete slab stage in front of about 5,000 people. We were starting the song DOA, and I went up for one of those like cross, I was on the ground, so I'll like throw my right leg up and then high kick with my leg or my left. And I came up, popped up, and when I came off my left foot to launch it up into the air, I had sometimes I'll squirt the crowd with a little bit of my like water bottle, because Justin, my guitar tech, pokes a hole in it for me so I can just like a football player. I sprayed it out on the crowd, and then the bottle set down and it dropped, and so there was a little bit of an oversplash like in front of my area, and I landed straight on my back in front of all these
Oh,
people in one motion, did like a karate roll backwards and popped right back up on my feet and went right into the first verse. I was like, holy shit, that was crazy
oh
and very
man.
embarrassing. Um, but it was like, oh my gosh, that was definitely a memorable one. And then the other one that was definitely like I had to stop the show for it for sure was because this happens. I mean, I'm human. We're all human. Um, it would have been February of 2024, and that first one was July. It would have been July of 23, and then the second one was July or February 2024. We were playing in front of about 1,000 people. It was just over 1,000 people in Versailles, Ohio, playing one of my favorite venues called BMI Event Center, and I straight up lost my voice. Like, just went away. I'm so sorry, you guys. I don't know what's going on here. Like, but I knew, I mean, it's in the middle of February. I hadn't been feeling great that week as it was. And then we go into this show and I think, oh, I'll be good. I'll be good. And about 8, 9 songs in, about halfway into our set, she was just gone. I mean, my voice just like clocked out and drove home. And it was like, all right, this is an issue. And I can tell you, this is where the personal touch and this is where the love for the people that buy your tickets and the extra mile goes. I stopped the show and I just said, I just want you guys to know how sorry I am that this is what is going on right now. I'm a human and I don't expect everyone to understand, but I just want you to know that if you guys help me sing these songs, I'll give you every ounce of energy I have in my body and we will finish this show together. Is that okay with you guys? And the crowd just lit up. And I'm telling you, it was like I pulled the extra set of acrobatics out, to like really try and deliver just the energy and the hype and everything. And they helped me with all the choruses, and I was still able to do some of the verses just without screaming and whatnot. And I was like, at the end, thank you guys so much. Give me 10 minutes out. Give me 10 minutes and I'll be out to shake hands. And we literally went out there, and I think the whole band went out with me actually. We dropped our instruments, wiped our faces off, and walked straight to the merch table. And we had our biggest merch night ever after my worst show ever.
That's awesome. That gave me goosebumps. That's really cool. That you know what? That's what
Get
live
gigging.
music is really all about, right? You can't get that on a record. So that's awesome. I love that story. What do you
Get
got? You got
gigging,
another one?
Bobby. Get gigging. You know?
Get gigging.
So, but it was, I mean,
Yeah,
but also the transparency and the honesty
Yeah.
goes a long way with people. If you're not fooling around and acting, some type of way, like again, I'm Mike from Michigan. So I get sick too. And it's unfortunate and it's scary and it's honestly stressful as hell. So, most people can get sick. I mean, I could play drums still. I could get sick all day long and still rip the drums, but you can't get sick and just magically fix your body in 20 minutes or 2 hours or 2 days. So
right,
anyhow,
right. Last rapid fire question, then I'm gonna go pull the brown M&Ms out of the bowl in the backstage for you.
sure, sure,
Um,
sure.
uh, so what's your pre-show ritual? Walk us through what Michael's pre-show ritual is to get into the David Lee Roth mood.
So it used to be a lot more intensive, and just the more you play and the more you do, the more of a routine, some of the routine tightens up and it doesn't take 2 hours. It might take an hour and 15 minutes or something, whatever. So generally speaking, like if I'm just getting ready for an average night on the town, playing a show, um, usually I have what's called a power plate, and that travels in my bus with me. And if you don't know what it is, look it up. Power plate. It's really cool fitness technology. It's literally a vibrating plate. I know they make them on Amazon and whatever, but power plate's like the OG flagship of harmonic vibration technology, and they used it. I guess the lore goes, whether you believe we landed on the moon or not, that's another topic of conversation. But they say that the technology was developed in the 60s by the Russians to rehabilitate astronauts coming back in from zero gravity. It increases blood flow and circulation. It triggers your nervous system. It increases strength and flexibility at multiple times the rate of traditional exercise. I used to be a personal trainer. I used to train small group fitness classes. And ironically, most of my clients were middle-aged women. So I went from training middle-aged women to singing for middle-aged women. So figure that one out. I don't know. So I usually do some time on my power plate to do my stretches and whatnot. And I just do a series of them that I used to run my clients through. Sorry, my wife's leaving for the gym. Love you. I'll talk to you in a bit. We're live, but anyhow, so that I'll do some vocal warm ups, and primarily just breaking things loose and getting things going. And that's really what it used to be. Is I would throw on the Pick of Destiny album by Tenacious D and pretty much sing that front to back for a show. Jeff's like, yes. So
Beelzebub.
that was what it was. Yes, Beelzebub. Oh. So that was what I did for a long time, and then it just slowly dwindled down to where I enjoyed kind of mixing it up and singing different tunes and learning different timbres and whatnot, and really anything to get my voice going, to get it moving, and so forth. So that was that, and then really it depends. I try to get dressed as early as I can, because when I have 20 minutes to sit down and think about nothing, and I'm already dressed and I'm already, showered and this and that and stretched out and voice is warmed up, then I always tend to have my best shows when I can get dressed in about an hour and then have like 15, 20 minutes to just goof around with the boys, talk some crap, laugh about something, sing some harmonies with them, joke or just anything. And so that's really it, is getting myself prepped and then truly getting back to getting back to being Mike for a minute and just hanging out and clearing my mind, because that's when the best happens, is when you're relaxed. I know a lot of guys get pumped up and Lars Ulrich is slapping himself in the face and hooting a line of, off of his key and everything. But I just like being able to kick back for a minute and like take it in, because that's when I know my head's going to be the most clear and I can deliver my lines the best. And my body takes a huge beating from this as it is, both on the training aspect of it and the performance aspect of it. And honestly, the stress of running and operating and coordinating a band and dealing with everything that comes along with that, because I basically managed the band for the first several years, and now I have an amazing tour manager that also does like our merchandising and everything, and her name is Maya. She's actually from Northwest Indiana, kind of the Chicago suburb area, and she has been a godsend on my mental health. She's been able to take over a lot of stuff. We just signed with a new agency, Mint, recently, and they have done things that I didn't even know existed in the music industry, as far as promotions and management, kind of responsibilities, and then just some of the stuff that go. Yeah, it's just been amazing. So this year's been, it's been a lot. It's been a super stressful year. But now, and then once this new bus is done, we're gonna be all set with that. And then my pre-show ritual will really be dialed in. I won't have to worry about all this other stuff. So then I can just power plate, get dressed, and go out there and give some high kicks and some DLR screams.
Well, we cannot wait to have you on this stage back here. It's coming up soon. So just a reminder, Saturday, December 13th. And if you have not seen Jump before, you've got to come out to the show. It's going to be awesome. I'm so excited for it. So
I'm
anything
excited
you got
too.
left?
December 13th, that'll be cool because that'll be our 6-year anniversary from our first show.
Really?
Really
Yeah, and
cool.
I'm not saying this. Yeah, December 13th, 2019. We opened for Thunderstruck in Toledo, Ohio.
Nice.
So if anyone knows Thunderstruck, and
Everyone
I'm
knows
not
her. And
saying
Thunderstruck,
Yeah,
I've
this.
seen her a couple of times.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and I'm not saying this just because Jeff Kleinschmidt's listening or anything like that. I actually mean this from like my core. The Vixen is actually like literally one of my very favorite venues that we play, and I'm not just saying that. I mean that wholeheartedly, and I've said that to dozens of different people. It's from the vibe. It's from Jeff. It's from the staff, the lighting, the stage, everything about the Vixen, the color concept, the modern, the postmodern industrial gray floor, black railing, everything about the Vixen, the green room, everything. It's definitely one of my favorite venues to play. So it's always a treat to come back.
well, we appreciate those
Huh.
kind words, and it's a treat to have you. So we're gonna sell out this time. We were so close last time. We're gonna sell out this time. So go buy them tickets, please. Let's get this thing sold
Yes,
out.
yes,
And bring your
yes. I know
mom.
it's been a
Yeah,
weird
bring
year
your
for everyone.
mom. Yeah.
Bring her out. Bring your friends. Bring your family, and we're gonna have a good time in McHenry, Illinois. So,
Thank you,
Awesome.
Michael. We'll see you in a couple weeks, buddy.
thank you guys for having me. Rock and roll will live forever.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye, bud.